Okay. Welcome back to episode 3 of the Fellers Podcast. I'm back with Dogel. We previewed Snapfire position 4 last time, and we are back to report on results. Dogel, welcome back. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. Just played the last few games today before starting.
Okay. So I'll let you go over your games first. I played 7 games overall. How many did you play?
I also played 7 games.
Nice. I think we originally set out the stipulation of like 3 to 5 as a guideline, but obviously you're welcome to play more or less, depending on if you feel like you need more games to get a better feel, or if they're going well, or whatever it is. But so sounds like we both played on the high end of games, so I guess that'll be good. We'll have a pretty good sample size of our experiences. So again, as a refresher, just remind the audience what your MMR is, and then you can go ahead and get into recapping your games.
Alright, so when I started this, I was around 3.5k, so staying at Legend 4. And, well, after this, I am now sitting at the 3,250.
Oh
So
no!
I lost 6 games and won 1.
Oh my god!
Which is also the reason I was going for more games. Because the first 2 I wasn't that comfortable in the hero. So, like, messing up cookies, like, a bit too often and stuff like that. But I really do feel like I kind of hit, the loose streak you hit every so often. So, like, I wanted to get a win. I wanted to see what it was like in a position where you were winning the game, how it feels. Because when you're losing the game, especially, like, to a really large stomp, it's just, like, it doesn't feel really good, and you can't really have the best feedback on the hero.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a good data point.
Yep, exactly. So I wanted more data points to kind of know how I felt about the hero and not those games themselves and all the external factors they come with.
Cool. Well, full disclosure, I went 2 and 5, so I I think it's safe to say it did not go well for either of us.
All right.
Uh, do you want to give your general? So I have some pretty strong feelings about the hero, but I think I'll let you kind of say how you feel about it, because I don't want to sway how you feel, and I want to see if what you have to say is similar to what I had.
Okay. So I'll go with like kind of 3 sections. First, the bracket. So it feels like Legend, maybe High Archon, is kind of the point where people start to know a little bit more about the game. A lot of people, like in those brackets, start watching pro games a bit more, trying to follow their footsteps, how they play, and everyone, like, you start seeing a lot of people with kind of the attitude of like, I know what I'm doing, you don't tell me what to do, and it felt really, really, really hard to play with a lot of those teammates, where it was basically impossible to get them to group up with the team because they wanted to farm or wanted to do their own thing, and they were absolutely sure they were doing the right thing. So it's kind of one of the reasons I was trying to get more data points.
So how do you feel like that aspect of it related to Snapfire, in like specifically?
So as a Snapfire 4, I'm not really the kind of hero that can really easily kill someone alone. Sometimes with my other support, my support's like, I had a witch doctor once where we roamed around and killed people pretty easily together. Like that felt pretty good. But like if I don't have a +1, I'm not gonna show up and like just kill someone by myself. And most heroes can just kind of cancel you when you use your ult, so you can't really just like slow them, jump them, and then ult on them. Like they're just gonna deal with you. So having teammates that didn't want to roam around or didn't want to set up kills with me made it super hard to play, I think.
Okay, so that's exactly what I wanted you to hear, or what I wanted you to say, because it's pretty similar to what my experience was. So here's my biggest overall take with the hero, and I'll expand on this particularly, but I felt like I didn't have any agency in determining the outcome of the games. Like, you're a hero that doesn't make big plays and isn't particularly great at anything. And so I mean, I don't know how your games were. Like my laning stage was pretty good. Like I think most lanes we either won or at a minimum drew. We had a few lanes where we won really hard. But you get to this point where I think the hero is like it's a jack of all trades, master of none. Like you have a bunch of things that you can do, but you don't do anything particularly well. So it felt like you could win your lane hard and get to the mid game, and then it's just kind of in the hands of the other players in the game at that point, which isn't a good feeling. And I know some people might hear that and say, "Oh, like that's just how all support is," like which just flat out isn't true. Most other supports have um, capabilities to turn fights, or specific abilities where you can make a big play or a save in a fight, or maybe you have solo kill potential, and Snap just doesn't really have any of that. So that was my biggest problem. Does that make sense? Is that kind of how your games felt as well?
That's basically exactly how I felt. It's
Yeah.
like you there's things you can do, but in the previous episode I mentioned like the ult being very useful in fights and stuff, and it's not that good, honestly.
No.
Like one thing in my last game, I had a Jakiro with me, and I looked at it and I was like, Jakiro's just better Snapfire kind of. Like you have the slow, but you have a bunch of burn damage. Your ult kind of does the same thing. It's like it covers a large area and makes kind of an area of the fight unusable for the enemies without punishment. And you have a long range stun, which is probably better than Cookie, except if you use Cookie like for some niche uses, like jumping cliffs and stuff like that. And I was
Yeah.
like, at that point, I'd rather play Jakiro than this. It feels like I would have more impact in the fights, especially. But as you said, like laning phase felt really good on Snap. It wasn't like I never felt like, oh man, I wish I had something for laning phase. Like I also basically always won or drew, but after that, felt like I really had a hard time doing something with myself.
Yeah, and the laning was like it was good, but it wasn't like you didn't feel like the best laner in the game. It just felt like you're a universal hero with good stats. You have good nukes. You have a slow and a stun. You can secure kills, but like your range is kind of bad. So it was hard to harass the carry. You can trade well with the supports. That is what I found myself trying to do, is just stay off the wave and push supports back, and then go for kills. So that part felt pretty good. But yeah, I found myself in almost every game asking myself like, what does this hero do well? And I don't think I can answer that question. I mean, really, we talked about this in the first half where we were kind of thinking of the positives of the hero. And I think the only thing that you do well, that you do better than any other support in the game, and this is really a niche thing, but you clear stuff like Pugna Ward and Undying Tombstone and Phoenix Egg. But if that kind of stuff isn't in the game, you're just you've like you said, you've had so many moments where like, man, I wish I was this hero instead. Like there was games where I was like, man, I wish I was a Skywrath and I could silence X hero, or I wish I was uh, any like a Fina, any other hero. So yeah, I don't think the hero felt very good. So I will say this, and I mentioned this the first time, and I did encounter it a lot. Did you play against any gyrocopters?
No, not at all.
Okay.
It's
I,
not being picked in my bracket, it seems.
okay, so I played against probably 3 or 4 support gyros. And Snap is very good against support gyro because you just get a skill in E, and this is throughout the whole game. You get a point in E, and you can always reliably melt the rocket, just like we talked about with the other things. Seems like a small thing, but I found myself in every team fight I was killing a rocket that was going on one of my cores, and it made a difference. So I think that aspect of it is okay. One of the 2 games I won, we had a Void on my team, and that's the one pairing where I'm like, okay, my ult feels really good, because you could combo and get 2 or 3 kills with it because they just can't move out of it. But the problem with the hero, and again, I think we previewed this as well, but like you have this kit where you're either in any given team fight, you're either going to get a good ulti off, which is kind of underwhelming, or you have to be right in the middle of the fight to be utilizing your other 3 spells. So in any given kit, you have or in any given fight, you're essentially using half of your kit. Like you're either using your non-ultimate skills or your ultimate skills, or your ultimate effectively. It's really hard to find a fight where you do both. And I think that's why it felt so underwhelming, is that you just have a support on your team that uses half their kit in every fight, and the other team has some Grimstroke that has 4 spells, or a Witch Doctor that has 4 spells, or all these other heroes that just they do so much more than you in the fights. So, yeah.
Another thing I noticed is it really feels like the E on her when you're not playing a carry feels pretty underwhelming, because you don't take the talents that give you like extra hits or anything, so you do like -3 armor for like 3 or 4 seconds, which is like Venge does like minus, I don't know how much, but Venge's W feels so much more powerful on that aspect.
Yeah, I didn't. Did you have any games where you just did 1 point and then went stats, or did you skill it up all the way every game?
I skilled it every time.
Yeah. So I also never went stats. I feel like it might be better to do that, but the bonus range on it helps a lot, especially when you're trying to clear something specific, like I was, where it's a gyro missile in a lot of the games. And the bonus range also helped with dewarding. So I think I'm not sure if it's worth leveling up or not as support past level 1.
It feels like if a skill,
it doesn't do
unless
anything.
it has like a very, very, very niche application, if it's so bad that you want to take stats instead, maybe it's like not that well designed, or it doesn't work with the current balance.
Yeah. And I'll also say the other thing I don't like on this hero is I really don't like the shard. It makes an already clunky ability in Cookie feel even clunkier. Because I'm pretty sure that you're in the air longer. Like, it doesn't it travels further, but you're also in the air longer. So I don't know. It didn't feel very good. I never bought it, but like, I'd get it. There was a couple times where I'd get it, and now it's like I'd miss a stun because it goes over the top of somebody, because you have like a melee hero hitting another melee hero, and regular Cookie would hop it over and stun it. But if you have the shard, it's going to launch it too far and not stun anymore. So the shard was good for pushing out waves, but in general, I think the shard is really underwhelming, which again, ever since Tormentors have been put into the game, I think it's the supports you see doing really well are the ones that have high quality shards, the Grimstrokes, the Nature's Prophets, Venges, Witch Doctors, and Treants that really, really take advantage of that. Whereas with Snap, it's like, okay, I don't even know if my ability's that much better now. I just have this shard.
The other thing for me is there's a few times I was like, I'll take the Ags and I'll use it as when needed an initiation and when needed a save. Especially I got it like a game where we had a good early game, and they had a Legion Commander in the enemy team. So I was like, if someone gets dueled, I grab him, throw him 3,000 units away, and like the duel is always going to be a null, right? But the thing is, the range to gobble someone is so short. It's basically melee range, yeah. Where I'd never get the opportunity to do that reliably. So it feels like the Ags, in theory, is cool. Like, it's a cool ability. It lets you travel a lot of distance. But it's rare that you need to throw someone 2,000 units like in front of you to like initiate, because then you're not going to be in range to join, or like to catch them in melee range and then throw them away. It just also felt clunky to use. It's not something I would necessarily recommend.
Yeah, you almost need to blink as well with the Ags to be able to use it as a reliable save, and now you're spending 6,500 gold on a save that a support pudge gets for 1,400.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, I'd way rather have just a Force Staff and a Glimmer Cape together. Those are a very adequate save.
And that was the last point I wanted to make, was that, it didn't feel like you had a defined role in a fight. Like I said before, your role in the game was almost exclusively defined by the items that you buy, which other supports, that's a factor, but it's like, if I'm a Grimstroke, I have these other things I'm wanting to do in the fight, and then I also have saves. Whereas if you're Snap, you're like, okay, my identity is I have a Force Staff and a Glimmer, and I need to save my cores, and then my abilities are secondary.
I hate how accurate this was for like especially when you're playing from behind. It's like, what am I gonna do? Deal 140 damage to their fucking 3k HP Pudge? Like, of course not. I'm just gonna try to move my slow people and try to just save my carry when he gets caught. Like, it just... Yeah, it really felt like I was at the mercy of the skills of my carry. If my carry was good, I could buy him space, because that's basically what the meta is right now. But if my carry was... I had a game where my carry, I think, got his first item, which was a Radiance, like 30 minutes in. You know, it's kind of doomed.
Yeah, and it sucks because well, not so much anymore. I'll probably not play the hero for a bit, but I do enjoy the hero. And I had played a good amount of Snap before, but I hadn't played several games in a row. And when you play a handful of games in a row with any hero, you just kind of see these kind of flaws with the design come under a magnifying glass, and it's really easy to see. So I think it's hard because the way that the hero is built, it's almost like they want it to be a flex picks. Well, they did before when they designed it, where you can be a core or a support. And now they had to gut the E so much, and they had to gut the hero's talent tree so much so that it's not a busted core, and now you're left with the end product. I'd almost wish they'd commit to the hero design either way. If you want it to be a core, make it a core. But that's another thing, is you have a talent tree where you effectively only have one option on 3 of your talent choices. If you support Snap, like you're only gonna do one of them, and the ones you have to choose are pretty underwhelming. Like the non-Little Shutter runs are pretty underwhelming. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but I think it's really interesting that we both had effectively the same exact experience in different MMR brackets.
Yeah.
Well, and it checks out too, because it was pretty low win rate across the board.
But,
it was like 45 or 46 or something like
but
that.
what you said, like it I think my experience is kind of the same. Like, the hero is actually fun to play.
Yeah, for sure.
I think the kit being flex makes it so there's a lot of things you can do, and people won't necessarily expect it. It's not like big plays, but it's just there's many ways to play it. But as you said, like, Cookie is super clunky. Like, sometimes it's not gonna hit well. Like, maybe if it was a vectored spell instead, could feel a little bit better. But it's just... Yeah. It's not the hero to play right now.
It is what it is. Like I said, I will say, if you're against Gyro support, it is then pickable, I think, because then you at least have a job that you can do in the laning stage and in the game. But okay, do you have any other final thoughts on Snapfire before we kick it to the dirt and not play it again for a couple months?
Nope. I think Snap's a fun hero, but it's gonna be in the bin for dispatch for me.
All right, I would agree with that as well. We'll see what the future holds for Snap, but it didn't go well for us. Maybe it goes well for you guys. I don't know. But okay, well, I know we said we wanted to keep it quick, which is good because the back half of this episode is a little bit longer. I figured it would be. I thought we were going to have similar experiences, and we did. So thanks for doing this with me. I hope to have you back for another episode in the future, and maybe we'll pick a better hero.
Yep. Thanks for having me. Looking forward for the next.
All right. See you later. We're out, and I'll catch you on the back half. Okay, welcome back to the second half of episode 3 of the Fellers podcast. We just wrapped up the first half. I wrapped up with Dogel talking about position 4 Snapfire, which we did last week. This week, my guest is John. We're going to be doing position 1 this week, and John is the biggest MMR gap that we've had so far on the podcast, so I think this is going to be a really interesting week. So I will let you go ahead and introduce yourself, your current MMR. Feel free to share your background and how we know each other and all that, because I think there's some history there to the player that you are today. So welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, happy to be here. Right now I'm sitting at like a really, really great MMR, 1.68, 1,685. It's been really fun being in this bracket. I took like a couple years off and then came back, and it's been a fun grind. I think I grinded up from, what's the lower one before whatever this is? Guardian?
Are you Guardian? Is that what your medal is?
I'm Crusader.
Okay, so Guardian is below that. So it goes...
I went from Guardian to Crusader in like a month.
Okay, so you're Crusader what? Crusader 2?
Crusader 2.
Okay. Yeah, I think you. I remember when you were calibrating, you were like in some Herald games. I was like, oh no, poor John, dude. But
I
you made it out. You made it out.
I like decided to just have fun and be silly and stupid during my calibration games, which was not a good idea. I'm realizing now, because I was just like, oh, I'm just gonna grind these out and have fun, whatever. And then, yeah, what a surprise. But anyway, so we've known each other. It's got to be like 10 years now, right?
Yeah, probably. I think we. So we started. We met in Han. I know John from back from Heroes of North, and I started playing in like 2008, and we probably met you. I would say, yeah, probably 2000. I mean, we stopped playing Han in 2013, and I think we played Han probably for 2 years before we switched to Dota. So yeah, I would say at least 10 years.
Yeah, and I started playing Han. I saw it in '09 or 2010. I saw it in 2010 because my friends were playing it in college. I'm like, this game looks so much fun. And I picked Lone Druid for my first game because I was like, oh, this is cool. He has a summon. And then I just constantly ran down lane and died. And, yeah, that's what my experience. And then I haven't gotten much better from there. But it was super fun.
If I recall, because you had a stint in Dota for a while before, because you just came back to the game, what, 2 months ago maybe?
Yeah.
And before, what was your highest MMR you got before? Weren't you like 3K? Or no?
Yeah, I was pretty high. I was ancient at one point.
Okay.
I think I was like ancient 1 or 2 or 3 or something like that, my highest.
So you have some history, and I think you have good baseline mechanics and understanding of the game, and so it's not like, because some people in lower MMR are like they're just new to the game. I think for you, it's like just coming back to the game after 2 months. I'm sure that you'll find your way up a little bit higher pretty soon, but
I'm sure. Yeah, I think like the thing to me too is like relearning the new items and relearning all the heroes that were tweaked. Because I'm like, I'm not gonna go through and like play every single hero during these calibration games to like remember how like all these heroes have changed now, right? Because like Clink's is the same hero, but it's very different from 2 years ago. Like there's certain heroes that are just, they have new skills and stuff, which I just had to learn. Even like Doom, I keep forgetting that Doom's ultimate just doesn't let you heal at all.
yeah, like, that's a relatively new change. That's from the last big patch. I'm still not used to it.
Yeah, I don't know that. So I'm like, heal me. What are you guys doing? They're like, we can't. I'm like, you know what? You're right. I'm so sorry. That's on me. We're all friends, please. Don't blame me. So,
I think the biggest thing to adapt to, especially for people like us that have played the game for so long, is after you come back after years off, is just learning like breaking old habits of what you know to be good. It's like for the longest time, like people built Vanguard on anti-mage, and it's like that's what we did for years, and not just like queuing up the old build you did in 2008. I give some of our friends crap because they just play Dota the same way they did in 2014, and it's pretty different now. So yeah, you'll be all right. You'll continue to adapt and grow. So all right, so that's a little bit of background of our history and all that. So I will let you go ahead, and like I said, we're going to be doing position 1. This is the first time we've done 1 on this podcast. Looking forward to it because I've lost some games and I feel like I just want to play some core games, so I'm excited. You can go ahead and get into your first hero.
Oh yeah. So this is one of my favorite heroes that I used to play all the time and had like an amazing success rate when I played it middle. This was back when like Invoker mid was picked all the time, and I would just pick PL and I would just crush Invoker all game. So Phantom Lancer.
I heckin' love pick. PL. It's probably one of my favorite heroes to play right now. So I'm not against this. So what are your thoughts on picking PL right now in this meta or whatever? Or is it just because you used to play it a lot, so you're comfortable on it?
That's like kind of one reason, but I remember like if we're gonna go towards this like zoo meta kind of thing, one, I think like the illusion heroes aren't bad. Another one is like a lot of the heroes I think that are coming out are like kind of single target. So like if you look at heroes that are doing really well, like Lycan and stuff, nobody's buying a Battle Fury, you know? So it's going to be harder to deal with them. And even like I think there's like mana break, also like learning all the different talents now is fun, but there's like a mana break talent, right? On PL. So the mana break is kind of nice on like some of these heroes with like
There
lower
is
mana
not
pools.
a mana break talent.
What hero am I thinking?
But
of
you
then?
build diffusable. Everybody builds diffu on PL, which has a mana break.
Yeah,
But
I think-
Weaver has a mana break talent. I think that's the only
what
one
it
I know
is.
of.
That's who I was thinking of, because I remember I built diffusal on Weaver. I was like, this is a great item, and then the next talent was mana break. I think that's why. Also, like in my bracket, it does well because people suck at spells, and you can just what is it, doppelganger?
Yep.
You can just doppel and dodge most stuff, and then Slardar, who I think is just like a kind of like a constant menace in lower brackets. You can like expel like a lot of the, or what's the word that they
Dispel.
use in this? Dispel a lot of those debuffs like that, which makes it a lot harder for people to play against you. If you can just be slippery and low MMRs and like escape stuff, you can do really well if you can kind of survive on your own.
Yeah, and it shows in the win rate too. He down at Guardian, it's 54% win rate, which is really good for a pub hero, and it's at 10% pick rate, so it's not like it's a really low pick rate. And it's above 50 all the way up, and then once you get to Divine Immortal, it's 49.6, and I think, which still isn't bad. I mean, it's below 50, but I think the hero is definitely pickable in my bracket. I think the biggest reason that it struggles as you get higher up is that it needs to ramp up a little bit. And in general, in my games as a position 1, your safe lane gets really pressured really early, and you usually have to like rotate out to the jungle by sometimes like 6 minutes. And I think PL lineups can get ran over a little bit in higher brackets, but in lower brackets where lanes don't get punished or pressured and you're able to just like safety farm your lane till 12, 14 minutes, it definitely helps, and it's good. But I really like PL. I think and well, we can talk more about specifics about matchups and stuff if we end up drawing the hero. But one note I'll say, the hero that is most unplayable against right now, it feels like, is Kunkka, who was really popular last patch. But he saw some pretty good sized nerfs. I've still seen him in games, but it's not nearly as bad. And I'll say the reasoning is not because he one-hit cleaves all your illusions. It's because the X is really good against you, and because the Water Park is very good against you. Like, it's so you can't like rush through fights when there's Water Park torrents going everywhere. So yeah, that's a matchup to look out for if you get it. So all right, cool.
Yeah, PL doesn't want to buy a BKB.
No,
least from that
definitely
point,
not.
I don't.
All right, let's go hero number 2.
Second hero was Gyrocopter. I like this hero a lot in my bracket because he farms like so fast. And yeah, I think I actually played a Gyrocopter game today, and I got a nice win off of it. I feel like people just don't know how to like kind of deal with him in lane sometimes because of the rocket, which is nice. Like you're a core with a stun who's ranged, who has high damage output, and you can farm quickly. Like, what else can you ask for in a lower MMR?
Were you playing yet, like 2 patches ago when he was the best hero in the game?
Yeah.
Or was that okay?
I won a whole
so
bunch of games with that hero.
Yeah, and I was playing a lot too. He was like indisputably the best one in the game, and then he got hit pretty hard with nerfs. I think it was like a flat cannon nerf and maybe base damage or something. And now you're seeing a resurgence of Gyro. We talked about this on the last episode, and actually the first half of this episode we talked about it. But you're seeing a lot more Gyro supports in games. I have not seen it much in carry, but you know, it was 2 patches ago. It was super strong. So yeah, it could still be playable this patch. I think one bonus with the fact that it's being picked so much as a support is you can even maybe just first phase it, because people are going to assume it's a support, and then it'll end up being a carry. You know what I mean?
I think that's really nice. I feel like, especially in lower brackets, if you pick that Gyro as a support, it just feels like a grief to me because of like the stun just not being like what you need it to be in lower brackets for people. But
the reason it's being picked a lot more in support is because the Q got 33% damage increase at level 1.
Yeah.
So it's 240 magic damage at level 1 now, which is kind of bananas. And I know I've been seeing it like it's the most picked support in my games that I've played this patch so far,
really?
From what I've seen. So I haven't played it myself yet, but I think it's decent.
Nice.
But yeah, if you pick it like I said, you can probably first phase it. And I don't. Well, maybe people aren't picking it as supporting your bracket, so they would think it's a carry. I don't know. I know in my games I can maybe first phase it and throw people off.
There's some trickle down pubonomics to it where where it takes a little bit for the stuff in your bracket to hit my bracket.
Yeah, in general, that's how it feels like in the really high immortal bracket, like with 10k MMR, the meta almost updates daily because those people are playing so much. And as you get lower down, it's like, yeah, it's a ripple effect. Like what's being played in immortal games, like 2-3 weeks later will be in divine ancient games and then legend and all. It takes like a whole patch to get all the way down to you. I think.
And then also we just don't listen anyway. It's like,
True.
no, this worked when I played 5 years ago. It's like, great. It's not that hero anymore. Yeah.
Cool.
It's fun.
All right. What's the hero number 3?
My last pick is Leshrac. And this is this is my weirder pick. Because one, like I think like whenever I play carry in these lower brackets, like I'm undoubtedly going to get support that doesn't have a stun. So this is a hero that does a lot of damage. It's a hero that's like a carry that can kind of take a little bit of damage and be in the front a little bit more. It can take towers. It can kind of do it all. And then I think it can deal with like, creeps and stuff like that kind of well. Yeah, it sucks if like you get like Lycans or if you get like other carries that are jumping on top of you. But I feel like I could be wildly wrong, but I feel like the carry role is going to move towards the middle lane kind of soon, just because of how difficult it is kind of to farm super safe in the safe lane.
So I think I like the idea of Lesh, but as a 1, it's going to be really hard to play. I think Lesh can be good mid. So the reason I'm not a huge fan of Lesh as a 1 or just these type of heroes is, like I said earlier, if I'm Leshrac and I get pushed out of lane at level 5, I just don't have a game. Like if I'm a position 1 Lesh, because I can't go hit jungle creeps and I can't do anything. So you're kind of like forced to, you have to get kills and smash your lane, which is doable. But it's like a kind of an all-in YOLO.
Yeah.
So.
And that's why, like, to me, this was like the weird pick, because like in my bracket too, I get so many people that are just like, I'm going to pick carries like in the off lane and the mid lane. So I'm like, what hero can still be in the safe lane and like do something with farm if it gets farm, without like griefing the team necessarily. I don't know.
I have a suggestion for a hero that fits that role better.
Yeah, what do you got?
Venge 1.
Yeah, but like I also haven't seen a Venge 1 in so long. And
When's the last time you saw a Leshrac 1?
It used to be a thing for a long time.
Like 2014.
Hey, when did I just came back to Dota 2. Come on, man.
All right.
I watched all of the TIs I missed, but I don't remember them super well. But still, like, I think like I agree with you. It's not an ideal pick, but this was like my, you know what? If we're gonna fuck around and find out, this is a hero that can do that.
So, okay. So you got, what are your 3 heroes again? So we have PL, Leshrac, and what was the second one?
Gyro.
Okay, cool. And then, all right, I'll go ahead. I'll get into mine. So mine are a little bit more straightforward. I think that, like you said, I think you had 2 more normal picks, and the Lesh one's kind of a little bit out of left field. My first one is probably considered, well, let me see. It's considered definitely meta in my bracket. I'm really picking it because this is a hero I want to play more and get better. But that's Faceless Void. And I also put it in here because, like I said earlier, with PL, where PL is really strong in lower brackets, and then as you get up, it gets lower win rate. Void's kind of the inverse of that. So he is pretty low win rate lower down. He's like 46%. And then as you get up, it gets higher up over 50. But it's a pretty good pick rate. I think it's actually I would say it's probably one of the top 3 carries this patch. But it's a hero that I'm putting in there because I enjoy and I need to get better at it and I want to get better at it. And I think that the way that it plays between 2 different brackets would make for interesting discussion.
All right, so veto that one. Got it.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna keep discussions on mine pretty short.
I'm
'cause
joking.
what I'm sure
You're good.
have you played much Void at all?
I love that hero.
Okay.
I loved it when the universe was playing it offlane, man. Like,
That's the other thing. Going back to 2016 when I was good at this game, or 2015 or whatever. I played a lot of Void when I was playing offlane for my team, and it was when it was meta because I think it was when the Ags made his ult cooldown like 60 seconds. So you'd go like 3 Void and go blink Ags. It was so much fun. So I've actually played a decent amount of games on the hero, but I'm kind of repicking it up for position 1. So all right, that's my first hero. My second hero is another hero that I personally enjoy. I have not seen it very much. Let me see how bad the stats are. They're pretty bad. Okay, Bloodseeker. Bloodseeker is 47% win rate in your bracket, and it's 47 in mine. Man, this hero's kind of shit. I enjoy playing Bloodseeker. I think he struggled a little bit against some of the offlaners in the last patch. It remains to be seen if he'll be any better this patch. I liked the Oggs build. Are you familiar with Bloodseeker Ags? What it does?
I've bought that Ags multiple times when I played Bloodseeker in turbo mode to get those stupid points for the compendium, because that was like one of the heroes that you had to play all the time. I had no clue what it did. I would just turn it on when I ran around people. I read it, didn't understand it. So I'll lay it out really quick. It does AoE damage based on percentage HP of the enemies around you, or of the enemies that it's damaging. So I know it reads kind of weird. When I first read it, I thought it was based on Bloodseeker's HP, which was kind of weird, but it is HP percentage damage based on them. So the idea is you go like when I did it, I would go like be like a hybrid build where you go, I would usually go Maelstrom first because it kind of works well with it too. And then you hope you get the Spell Life Steal item because it definitely helps to maintain it, the Blood Mist, if you get Spell Life Steal, because it does drain your HP a little bit when you're using it. And so if you're not killing stuff or have Spell Life Steal, then you kind of just kill yourself. But it's kind of fun. And his Shard is really good against max HP heroes as well. I'm kind of surprised he wasn't better last patch, and maybe that's not a good sign for the hero because there was such high HP pools and he's struggled. But I think part of it was if he doesn't, they nerfed his E. I think it was his E. They nerfed his laning ability, so he didn't ramp up really fast against the stronger melee offlaners, and he would just get outpaced last patch. It's probably the same this patch, but who knows? I like the hero. It's fun. I've got a pretty garbage win rate on that hero, so this is 2 heroes I'm vetoing. So this is great.
All right. Well, here's the last one, and anybody that knows me over the last couple months probably knows that this is going to be in here, and that is Ursa Warrior. Again, I'm not saying you have to do this build, but the reason I'm putting Ursa in is because the Octarine, Shard, Agnum's Yule's build is like the most fun I've ever had playing Dota. Have you seen this before? I'm probably not in your games, right?
I've seen plenty of Ursas buy Octarine and then lose the fucking game.
Okay, well, I think the games I've played it, I've won most of the games, and it's so funny because when we were playing stacks like last patch, I played it a handful of times, and I was trying to tell everybody how good this is, and like because you reach a point where you're unkillable, and I'll explain it in a second here if you've never played it before, and then we finally played against it, and like nobody believed me, and it was like, whatever, kind of, it's weird. And then we finally played against it, and this Ursa was just unkillable, and everybody's like, oh my god, this build's insane, and they were pretending like he invented it. And I had been trying to play it for the last couple months, and I didn't invent it either. I think the first I heard of it, I know BSJ did a video about it a while ago, like 3-4 months ago. But basically the idea is, so your Shard makes it so when you use Q, you get a mini ulti, so you get 1.5 seconds of ult every time you Q. And Octarine lowers your cooldowns, and it also has some really good talents that work with spamming Earth Shocks, because it has your 15 talent makes Earth Shock apply 2 Fury Swipes, And your 10 talent makes the Furious Wipes last longer, and then you get a 20 talent, which makes the radius huge, and then 25, you get double charges on it. So basically what it boils down to is when you play it, you just have really low cooldown Qs, and every time you Q, you're jumping around, and you're getting an invulnerability, and you're applying Furious Wipes to everybody in the in the game. And then once you get Octarine, you have like near permanent enrage, and you become impossible to stun lock, impossible to kill. And then if you really commit to the meme, you go for Ags, which makes your ult cooldown like 15 seconds, 18 seconds. And then you can go for the Yules, which gives you like an extra window of invulnerability. That's really hard committing to it, but I love the Octarine build on this hero. It's so much goddamn fun because you just feel invincible. So I'm not sure if it's good this patch. I haven't played it yet this patch. Let's see what his win rates are. Win rate 48% in Divine Plus, 46. Yeah, he's got pretty low win rate too. All right, I picked some bad heroes this week. It is what it is.
I'm ready to lose some MMR. Let's go.
All right. Well, it's no surprise I'm definitely vetoing Leshrac. And it's not because I hate it. It's because I strongly dislike it. And also because if I pick one position Leshrac in my solo queue games, I'm going to get 4 reports and I'm going to get low priority. And it's going to be a rough time. So I'm going to veto Lesh. What would you like to veto?
That's fair. I just wanted. I loved playing Torturer, man. So like,
yeah.
I
loved Torture too, and Torture felt a lot cleaner than Lesh, in my opinion. Yeah. Lesh feels clunky.
I thought the chains too, where like it brings everybody close together, was really fun. Anyway, enough about a dead game. Let's see.
Torture was Leshrac and Heroes in Earth for anybody that didn't play.
Yeah. So like you had Ursa, Void, and what was your second one again?
It was Bloodseeker.
I think I don't want to play Bloodseeker. I'm gonna be honest.
Okay, that's fair. I actually also didn't want to play Bloodseeker. So.
I can see how it can be good because like you ulti Lycan, it's like great, you can't run.
That is true. It is good against Lycan. Okay, so no Bloodseeker. So that leaves us with PL, Gyro, Void, or Ursa. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll a random number generator, 1 through 4. So PL will be 1, Gyro 2, Void 3, and Ursa 4. So I'm going to hit it twice. I promise I won't cheat. And drum roll number 1, which we got PL.
Yes!
I'm excited about PL.
That's what I had in my head. I'm like, it better be PL because I can't play these heroes.
Didn't really want to play Gyro. And I felt like if I made you play Void, you'd lose a lot. And I would have been happy with Ursa. But I'm really happy with PL. Like I said, this is one of my favorite heroes to play right now. So let's get into it. So have you played it at all this patch?
Not this patch. I played it a little bit when I first came back because I was like, I love this hero. I played it and then I'm like, this hero's garbage.
Okay.
Especially since I didn't know how the Ags worked.
I was going to say, so here's where I'm going to break your boomer brain because it doesn't really make sense to boomer brain. But I think in most games, the build is to rush Ags right away, like first item. Like go Treads, Wraithband, Ags. And then you go back for the defusal. So how the Ags works is you queue a target and it bounces 2 additional times, so it really casts 3 versions of your Q. And the illusion does quite a bit of damage, like more than your regular illusions do, I believe. Yeah, it does 30%, and your best illusion at level 1 ulti, your illusion damage is 18 for a normal illusion. So the ones that it summons do extra damage, and it's just a triple nuke. So in team fights, when you're throwing it out, you're getting 3 nukes and then 3 really good illusions just to start the fight. And there's some really good talents that go with it as well. The level 10 talent is plus 40 Spirit Lance damage. So it really adds up in fights, but more so, it's incredibly good at farming. So once you get an Ags, you can pretty much just queue a camp and just go to the next camp because the queue is going to clear that camp. Sometimes, depending on the camp, you might have to hit it once or twice, but it's a farming item. So you can go you just go Treads, Wraith, or at least this is what I build most PL games. I go Treads, Wraith Band, I go the Ags right away, then I go back for Diffusal, and then usually it's Manta. That's where you can maybe change your build up a little bit depending on the game. But it is a farming item, but it's also really good at team fighting.
Do you go the 1.5 second Spirit Lance cooldown at 15, or do you go the bonus agility?
You go the cooldown, or at least I do.
Okay.
You kind of play around the lance a lot. And then this is where I'd have to look and see what good players do. At level 20, I always go the Phantom Rush range. I know that the default guides say to get the other one, but I'm pretty sure Phantom Rush range is way better because again, it allows you to chase heroes, get more spears off, and shred people. So, yeah. And then I'll say one more interaction that is incredibly useful to know is that if you have a Grimstroke on your team and Grimstroke ults 2 heroes, if you Q them, it launches 6 lances because it launches your Ag's Q at each target and they each bounce 3 times.
Gotcha.
So like if you do get a Grimstroke all on 2 heroes and you Q them, like they just die. It's bananas. It's like you lean alt 2 heroes and then you get a million illusions. So that aspect of it is really fun. So yeah.
Are you
that's the Axe.
Are you maxing Spirit Lance? Because of
no, you max the E for farming.
Okay.
And then you go. I usually will go. I'll have 1 level doppelganger and then go back and max lance. The time usually works out that when you get Ags, you are either at max lance or level 3 lance. At that point, usually, I have to look. I usually get around level 10 or 11. It feels like. So I'll lay out a few things about the hero. So the E feels kind of weird if you're not used to using it. Have you played him since he has Phantom? When's the last time you played PL?
I've played him
Okay.
like this patch. It's like,
so you know how it works with like toggling the E on and off?
Yeah.
Okay. So some of it is like in lane, it can be kind of weird if you're right clicking to draw aggro. Like you want to toggle off the E before you right click a hero, because if you right click to draw aggro, it'll use your E and put it on cooldown. So that's kind of a weird and clunky thing to get used to. But once you get used to it, it's fine. It is really good to use the E in lane to secure creeps, especially like a range creep, because it gives you that bonus agility when you hit. It can make it so you can beat out the other guy for CS. I find it pretty easy to last hit with PL in lane because his animation is good. He has high base damage, and like I said, you can use that E to secure. You can be shoved out of lane, I guess, but I don't know. The games I've played, the lanes have felt pretty strong. Yeah. What other questions do you have about the hero?
Yeah, it's gonna be fun playing him safe lane because I always played him mid, which is really fun. What do you like the matchups? Who do you like to play it against?
Okay, well, let's see who I don't like to play against first. Like I said, I really don't like to play against Kunkka. If Kunkka's in the game, it's really, really hard. It's really good against heroes that are reliant on their mana pool. And you can look at carries that are reliant on mana pool too, like heroes like
Dusa.
Like Ursa, maybe Dusa. Yeah, the Dusa matchup is kind of weird because Dusa outpaces you in the game. Thankfully, Dusa is not very strong right now. Dusa should farm faster than PL. So, in general, from games I've seen in this matchup, the Dusa hits critical mass before PL does and can just glue the illusions. And then if it gets to ultra late game, it's kind of a coin toss. Like you would think it'd be PL favored because of the mana break, but I don't know. That was also a lot of those was when Dusa was really strong, and now she's nerfed, so it might be PL favorite now. But yeah, heroes that rely on mana pool. Ursa is one that it feels really good against Ursa because he can't clear you. I mean, he'll go Battle Fury and try, but you can just kite with Q. CK feels pretty decent to play against because he has a hard time finding your guy to blow you up. He wants to one-shot you with all his guys. And then he's also pretty mana pool reliant. So that one's pretty good. I think PA's okay. If you're against PA and he finds your illusion, he kind of isolate you and kill you really quick in like one stun. So that's kind of hard. And the evasion makes it hard for you to do a lot of damage to PA. So that one's kind of a weird one. It's not super fun to play against Bristle because it never feels like you can keep any illusions alive. But at the same time, you do have mana burn, which is really good against him. Trying to think of it other. Feels really good against Slark. Feels really good against Slark.
Okay.
Because Slark can't. He can't do anything to you. Like,
but you can't W out a leash, right?
You cannot. No, you can't doppel out. But so how I play PL, and I think it's really important if you're doing this Ags build and getting lances, is you kind of almost edge the fight. You want to hunt for long team fights. You don't want these team fights where it's like jump in, burst, kill. Like that's not really how the hero thrives. The hero thrives by like edging the fight, getting lances off, and whittling the other team down, like whittling down their mana pool. And then once they are on the back foot because their mana pool is low, or maybe because you kill the support, then you press hard and you push and you chase. You use Phantom Rush range to chase and Diffusal to chase. But you got to be really patient, and you have to be patient with your positioning. Because if you start a fight and you just press E on a hero and charge in and right click and hope you kill him, like you're gonna really struggle because you just don't do enough damage to do that. So make sure when you're playing it that you're kind of playing the edge of fights, getting Qs off, and waiting for your timing to really jump in and commit.
I like the hero against like Spirit Breaker when that because you charge, you dop. Oh, you said that. Sorry. You doppel.
I didn't say it. That's another good one though.
You doppel, it doesn't hit you. Like Slardar too. Like his stun animation's not like hard to dodge really. Same with like you can take off his ulti, which is really nice. I'm just thinking about like the heroes that I see in my bracket. I'm like
those are both really good matchups for you. Spirit Breaker will reach a point where he's doing a lot of damage and he's able to like find you with charges and fights, but in general those are two single target heroes that have dodgeable skills that are also really mana pool reliant. So I would say that you do very well against those heroes.
I never did well against Tide actually with PL.
Yeah, Tide's tough because again, like I said, you want longer fights. So I think heroes that hunt for quick fights, like Tide, Tide sometimes, if they get in and ravage on your team, like if they jump in on you, and you're on the back foot as PL, it doesn't feel very good. And the laning against Tide doesn't feel very good. And yes, he's mana pool reliant, but he also is like wants to ravage and go. So it's kind of a two-way street. But yeah, I would agree Tide doesn't feel very good. Shaker obviously doesn't feel great, but that's a matchup you can play around by just like, again, if you can get multiple lances on him, you can burn his mana pool and take his game away. Just you have to be careful with how you stand. Like you can't just doppel and then stand in your illusions. Like you can get echoed and die.
Yeah. Two other heroes I see a lot is Necro and offlane. I see this shit all the time. I don't know how that hero does against him because like I feel like I've had good games and bad games.
I would say it's not the best matchup for you. Because it's hard for you to sick a lot of your boys on him and drain his mana because he can just press W and then none of them can attack. So he can press W and then clear your illusions with Q. It's definitely a harder matchup. What you can do is, if I'm against a Necro, and this is not just with PL, this is pretty much any hero, like you want to get a Nullifier relatively early. Because if you get a Nullifier, then you can just kill Necro. Like if you get to late game and you have a Nullifier and he doesn't go BKB, which I'm guessing a lot of Necros in your bracket aren't going BKB. Then it becomes a really PL favorite matchup is because you can just nullify it. Now he can't press W. You sick all your boys on him and you can drain his mana and take him down. Yeah. But yeah, that's definitely a little bit harder of a matchup. One thing I would suggest that you do, it's incredibly important on PL, is so when you doppelgang, one of your illusions takes normal damage. So like if they do damage, they can't tell if it's you or not. You want to set a hotkey for that one. And you can do this by going into like a test and press doppelganger, find out which one is taking normal damage. And I can show you this if it doesn't make much sense. But you want to have a hotkey for that so that like now you can do doppelganger jukes. So you can doppelgang and then press your hotkey and then juke with that hero. They'll chase it and then you can survive with your regular hero. It's really important to be able to do that in your bracket. It'll save your life like probably 3 times a game.
Nice. Yeah, I usually just as soon as I doppel, I just send them all in different directions and see what happens.
Yeah, because if you hotkey the guy that takes normal damage, if you Doppel, select him and start walking away, and they start hitting him, he's going to be taking normal damage. They're going to be 100% sure they have the real PL, and they'll hard commit, and then you can just walk away with your main hero. This in higher brackets, it's like you can do this, but I almost like coin flip it whether I'm going to do it with my real hero because they kind of expect you to do this. But sometimes you'll do it with your real hero and you can fake them out. But like in your bracket, you can just do this every time that you're in danger and move the clone, and they'll bite on it pretty hard.
Nice.
So, okay. I'm trying to think of other things that are really important with PL. You definitely go ahead.
Like super late game items, because I feel like that's all. Like on a personal note, that's where I really struggle is like late game item choices. Those first 3 items kind of play themselves usually depending on the matchup, but like those super late game, like what are you hoping for?
Yeah, I think so. Like I said, Nullifier is going to be good in a lot of games because you're a hero that, yeah, you want to poke, but at some point you want to be able to commit and just murder a hero. And Nullifier is the item you need to be able to do that. So if you didn't know, Nullifier removes every defensive support item in the game. So Glimmer, Glimmer Cape, Force Staff, Yules, Aeon Disc, Ghost Scepter, all of them, if you put Nullifier on them, they just won't work. So Nullifier is really important to have if you're going to have these Necro-type heroes, or if you're going to be facing supports that have 1 or 2 defensive items and you just need to kill them. Like if there's a Dazzle or something or a Warlock that's really high priority that you need to kill, and they have Yule's Force Staff, you're going to need a Nullifier just to get on them. And if you have it, you can take out supports in like 1 or 2 seconds. So I think that item is, most games you're going to want that late game. So let's see. So my general build is Ags, Diffusal, Manta Style, and then at that point it's usually Heart. Most games it's going to be Heart. Some games it'll be Scotty. Scotty has the anti-healing component in it. So if you're against healing lineup, Scotty's very good. Or just like guys that rely on life steal, it's really good.
How new is that? What the hell? Anti-healing
I was going to say
Scotty?
that this might be something that you don't know about. Let me make sure I'm not crazy and it still has this. Let me pull up the numbers on it.
Health regeneration, life steal,
yeah, it's 40%.
40%.
Yep.
Holy
so,
shit.
Again, another really good item against Necro. So if you get to really late game against Necro and you have, let's say, Scotty Nullifier, you can destroy this hero. But up until that point, it's pretty tough. So yeah, that'd be something you want to look out for. Heart is really good. And then one last thing that's going to be weird to your boomer brain is the upgraded to Diffusal, the Disperser. Have you ever bought this item before?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, so it gives you an extra Dispel, which is really good on PL. But more importantly, it gives you a movement speed boost. And when you get to 6-slotted PL, it's kind of nice to not have to have boots. So you might reach a point in some games, if you have a late game, where you want to replace your boots. Just make sure that you upgrade your Diffusal to Disperser, because that'll give you a movement mechanic, and then you won't get kited. So that's good to know. Some other items that can possibly be good situationally, I like Bloodthorn can be really good. If they have a caster that doesn't go BKB that you want to take down.
Is Butterfly just garbage on that hero?
No, Butterfly's good. Butterfly's good. I mean, really, all the general late game items, but it's kind of situational at that point. It's more dependent on the game. But I would say almost every game you're going to want Ags, Diffusal, Manta almost every game, and then Heart almost every game. And then after that, it's a matter of, do you need more damage? Do you want Scotty so you can kite, or because they have or you want anti-heal, or do you want like an orchid, or not an orchid, a Bloodthorn, or not Daedalus, but a Bloodthorn or something like that if you need to be a little bit more aggressive. Abyssal Blade can be an option. It doesn't feel great, but if it's, if you need the BKB piercing lockdown, you're a hero that can get that for sure. So I hope that helps. I know I just pretty much said every item in the game, but it really is kind of, once you get past 4 items on most heroes, it's really about what do you need in that given game.
That was super helpful. Yeah. It's also nice just like having the confirmation that like, hey, it is situation. It like, there's no item that's like, look, John, if you're not getting Basher, you're playing the hero wrong.
Yeah. I would say like the first 2 or 3 items are pretty much every game you'll want. But like if you get shoved down a lane, you might just have to get a minus, and it might feel really bad. But like if you can't farm to get to the Ags and you need some other steroid, like maybe you have to get a minus before you go Ags. It happens some games. I wouldn't think that you would. I think in your bracket you should be able to just kind of chill and get an Ags by like 13 minutes or something. But yeah, so that's PL. Any other questions before we get going?
Yeah. Any other items, like cosmetics I need for this hero, so I can win more? Because
I am not the cosmetic guy, so I don't know. I just play on base skins.
Because coming back, I kind of realized that if I'm not playing with the right cosmetics, I'm just going to lose every game. So.
Yeah, I don't know. But okay.
I'm good.
Cool.
I'm psyched. Let's go doppelganger on some kids. Let's go.
All right. Well, that is a wrap on episode 3. We'll be back. I'll be back next week with John to wrap up PL. We'll see how it goes. And I'll see you later. Let's go win some Doter.